Hello and welcome back to FlowState on this glorious day. Oh, let's try not to get run over. Today we're going on a different experience. We're going down to the Atlantic Ocean, but we're going to go through two small towns. We're going to go to El Pris and then follow that snake into the kind of cove beach area of Mesa del Mar. So we'll see how far we get. Today we're going to be talking about a few things. Lagging indicators. We're going to be referencing specific moments in my past life that led me to the creation of the Growth Blueprint. And we're also going to leverage my current state that I'm in now as it relates to tools that we can implement to change our state and understanding emotion as it becomes alive in us. So let's start with that. My wife and I have been taking some salsa classes, and she's been advocating that we do this for a while, and for whatever reason, we just haven't, and we have started doing this together, which is just truly amazing. She started about a month or so before me, and then we started going to the same class. Last night, we went to our first specific salsa party that was put on by the dance studio that we're at. And it is so humbling to embark on a journey of education that it's like learning a new skill, right? Every time you confront something that's new, you're going to feel discomfort, you're going to feel out of place, you're gonna have doubts, you're going to struggle with the gap of knowledge relative to other people that are doing this thing. There's all kinds of emotions that we face. And it's always a challenge to put yourself out in a place or put yourself in a situation that is potentially slightly embarrassing, when you're in a group of people at various levels. People that are beginner are obviously just horrible at doing the thing. You may have some natural talent, like being a little suave and all that, but still knowing the steps, knowing how to splice different sequences together, it's really an incredible state of mind to be in, especially one that is both performative and physical. So it requires coordination, music, all of it. Dance is just an incredible art form, and I have so much respect for people that have been doing this for a while, and I have a newfound appreciation for it. Definitely appreciate dance in general, but this was the first time that really I had gone through a process of learning specific moves. We did tango in Miami a million years ago. We went twice. So I don't really consider that something that I did, but it was definitely an experience. So anyways, in the dance studio, you're going through certain sequences, and it's a very controlled environment. And you go through, you learn some steps, then you're dancing with partners, you're changing partners, there's music, there's a vibe, it's awesome. But it's ultimately very controlled. It's literally in a box. So you take that theory and then you are doing that with practice to go out into the world and dance, because that's why you're doing it, to dance. And we showed up to the party. They were fucking on fire, twirling and just full on, incredible, all different levels, but for sure, myself, my wife, and two of our other friends are beginners, though we realized very quickly that actually one of the friends, who's only had 2 official lessons, really feels like he's been dancing for years. So maybe when he was young, he had been introduced to this and then kind of downplayed his ability. So anyways, fucking intimidating. You're there, you're just trying to do your best, you're fucking up. It's kind of like a mini nightmare disaster, but you just do your best and you take it all in stride. No one's there to judge or, it's all an amazing group of people just having a good time, doing the thing. And the internal struggle that is the experience of someone new being just thrown into a real world context in which you're leveraging the skills that you've learned in the studio, it's just rattling, because you're rehearsing, you're practicing in a controlled environment where everything is very contrived. And now you're in the middle of this huge dance floor, music blasting, people are spinning, everybody's been like doing this for a while, at least that's what it seemed like to me. And then you're trying to do it and it's not working and you feel self-conscious about it, but you're still doing it. And it's like in those moments, feeling what's alive in us and using it as a catalyst to propel you forward through inspiration, through the desire to improve your skills so that you can then enjoy more the experience of what you're practicing and rehearsing and the kind of bridging the gap of where you are and where you would like to be. And the only way to do that is by taking action and committing to practicing, bettering your skills, your overall experience of the dance. This is true for so many things. And it was really discombobulating, honestly. It was really the context shift I had a hard time with, and I wasn't able to clearly hear the music, so my counting was off, and I'm coming from a DJ background and I'm pretty good with counting and I'm not accustomed to hearing this type of music, listening to Latin music casually versus in a more like an intentional thing that we're doing. We're going there to dance. So anyways, struggling with being self-conscious is an interesting state of mind because it's not serving you, right? And it's like I realized so quickly, but it's, the emotions that are happening within us, and then what happens next to then either change your mindset. I've spoken a lot about anti-fragility, where regardless of the extrinsic factors, your intrinsic state is rock solid. You don't need a beautiful day to feel empowered, that kind of thing. So it's a really strong and palpable emotional state. And so once you're in that state, right? It's like you're excited, you're pumped, but you're doing the thing and it's just not working. And then you know the basic steps, but it just doesn't translate to a live performance. And so I was reflecting on this, last night as it was happening. I'm not self-conscious about like how I'm gonna be perceived by other people. Like, I really don't give a fuck about that. I just am self-conscious about my own capabilities as it relates to knowing enough. I mean, we've only had like 4 lessons, so it was quite fast from going from never having done this to doing 4 lessons over 2 weeks, and then just being, let's go to a salsa party and we'll dance and see what happens. Actually, tonight, we're going to another salsa party. And I guess that's the point. I'm going to go back to this analogy that I had in my mind before, but it is the point to always be moving the needle forward with intention, because it's happening regardless. And so you might as well have an intention behind it and put yourself in the position that is in alignment with your long-term goal, the objective. The objective is, for me personally, to have the skill set to be able to walk into any room that's playing salsa, bachata, merengue, which is interesting because apparently my understanding is that they're all basically the same steps, but just different speeds and cadences and tempos, which changes how you count, but essentially all of the footwork is the same. So let me go back to this analogy that I was thinking of. When I was first learning how to DJ, honing the craft of expressing myself through other people's music, through mixing, I spent a lot of time building up record collection, practicing at home, little get-togethers, house parties, and that kind of thing. But the first time I went from bedroom DJ, quote unquote, to playing my first gig in a club, it was fucking crazy. Because tracks are gonna sound different than they do on a massive system than they are on a bedroom system. And, okay, I just want to take a moment and appreciate this, where we are right now. A slow turn. Woo! On the way back, you'll have this incredible view. Anyways, so cool. So, it was so earth-shatteringly discombobulating, okay? It was so bizarre to play the same music, and I remember I put together this collection of tracks that I was gonna mix together that I had played many times, and it just wasn't working the same way that I had intended, because there's a massive difference between the rehearsal concept and live application concept. And things are going to come up that you don't anticipate. Things are going to sound different, going to affect the way that you select the records, and things that you think are going to land with people aren't. And it was just a profound experience that opened up my thinking dramatically. I'm gonna take a quick break, take a photo, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. It's that nasty thumbnail thing that I have to do. So, it was such a humbling experience, thinking you're gonna show up, you're all like pumped up, you got some great tracks that you like, and then it's just a disaster. And maybe it doesn't sound like a disaster, you know, to the rest of the world, to the people that you're connecting with, but from your perspective, it's a fucking disaster because you're not in alignment with the thing that you're doing for a variety of reasons. In that context, it was the first time that I ever played out. I took what I was rehearsing in the bedroom, again, like, you know, house parties and stuff, but there's a big fucking difference between a real club sound system and a house party. So it was an interesting reflection on my part yesterday and then today, and it just like, so knowing this, feeling this, living into the discomfort and using it as a catalyst to propel growth. And so I couldn't be more excited about tonight, and we'll see how things land. But the idea of continuing to work on something that is going to be a struggle, that is a struggle until it gels and you have the confidence in your ability to flow connected to that process, it's an uphill battle. And it's a choice to engage in this. It's no one's forcing me to do this. It's a choice that I would like to do because it connects me to my wife in a deeper way. It brings me joy to be able to learn a new skill, to dance with other people, other women, and really tap into something that is so expressive in nature. And this idea of where I would like to be and where I am now, obviously massive difference, you know, it's like, this is, you know, some like at the beginning stumbling over myself and my feet. I mean, not literally, but it's that kind of thing. Feeling like if you can't even hear the music in one form because it's not in the same context as the dance studio in which you're rehearsing and all this. And really just acknowledging all of these feelings and then using it as a catalyst, not as like something to take me down. Although I did feel a little depressed this morning, be like, oh man, it's like, it's fucking hard. But then right away you flip the script and you're like, it's not a negative, it's a positive, because where I am, where I'm going, that's the journey, that's the thing to relish and appreciate. And I often talk about this with people with children and raising kids, going through the process of various you know, time periods in their life. There's times where you're, you know, it's like the bedtime story time frame will eventually end. The, you know, daddy's shoulders, the snuggling in bed, all of these things are going to end at some point. And, you know, it's only natural that kids are going to test your patience, push you when you're not apt to be pushed, and that's going to trigger things inside you. But understanding that certain things like waking up in the middle of the night, although are a pain in the ass, you know, those are once in a lifetime opportunities that really do exist for a certain amount of time in your life. And the tendency is, oh, I can't wait until this is over because then this. But the trap, that's the trap. The trap is to distance yourself from the present moment into the future, while the thing that's so powerful and emotionally charged in that moment is almost, it's missed. It's a missed opportunity. And that's how I saw the experience last night about not projecting myself, 3 months from now, but feeling in this moment the suffering, the awkwardness, the inability to connect the music to my feet, to my movement, to my arms, the whole thing, and then how that translates to the outcome of what I was looking to do or that I was trying to do. And, you know, dance is with a partner, and like with all dance, as far as I know, the male part leads, and it is vital to the essence of the dance to lead with strength and power, because the woman's role is essentially following the lead of the male with knowledge of the dance routine, of which so much of it is improvised, which I didn't actually fully understand until I saw what was happening when I showed up last night. So anyways, it's just to say that so much of learning is, in a way, suffering, but only if we allow the struggle of learning to impact us in a negative way, right? Suffering is a negative relationship to whatever emotion you're labeling. Just like the idea of stress being always labeled as negative, whereas stress, the way I see it, is a leverageable indicator of being on the right track, looking to, hold on, so I get a little lost here. Voila. An indicator to reaffirm that you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing because it's scary, and you're focusing on bridging the gap, because if it wasn't driving these emotions in you, then you wouldn't have the indicators that you would need to tell you that you were actually doing the right thing, the challenging thing, whether it's having that conversation with someone, whether it's doing something that you know needs to be done, but for one reason or another is really driving emotion inside of you that you are not comfortable with. And to me, that's an indicator that you're on the right path, that you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And the thing to focus on is that momentum that you're building within yourself to break through the resistance and propel you to the other side. It's a wild thing to analyze and to be introspective on, in my opinion, because you're juggling so much of, so cool. This is this awesome beachside town. You're struggling to ensure that you're operating from clarity and focus. And when things are unsettling, sometimes that sends mixed signals, because things that are generally perceived as unsettling could be regarded as danger. And although that's true sometimes, in this context, if we reframe our thinking with, now we're talking about like stress or the idea of anxiety, you know, labeling feelings as negative as opposed to empowering, like I feel anxious because of this, and this. Well, I would propose using those feelings, those emotions, the things that are alive in us to reaffirm that what we're doing is the right course of action. And I didn't fully grasp this idea until relatively recent, and it just changed everything for me, because whereas I looked at various tasks and situations, and like I'd get an email and then all of a sudden my heart would be pounding, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And that's just an email. Like, what does that mean? What is that saying? What action needs to be taken to move forward? And so when I started reflecting on all of this, it really started, and then, this is not necessarily a new concept. It's been discussed in this space, but hola. Yeah, so it's not a new concept. I didn't coin this. I didn't, by any means invent this or whatever. It's just, I'm really interested in this idea of reframing our emotional state to empower us, to guide us through challenging situations that, of course, are grounded in our core values and are aligned with our goals. Because, these can be indicators of things that are not right, things that are right, things that are scary to us, that bring up all of these types of feelings of just unease and discomfort and just an unsettling nature about our current state. And then having the ability to then leverage that and to use it as a catalyst for growth, to me, is one of the secrets of personal development that, when practiced, can be really transformative. One of the things that really set me off on this journey was the process of becoming more self-aware to this effect, and how that morphed into the foundation of the Growth Blueprint was really allowing myself to be more present with my own emotional state, so that I could have some form of clarity and understanding. Because without it, it's just kind of like a reaction to various events. And instead of reacting unconsciously, how to then slow down the intended response to be able to give yourself some space to breathe. Which is why practicing mindfulness with intention, not just saying like, I'm practicing being mindful, and I would say, well, what does that mean? And it means a lot of different things. In this context, it means slowing down. When you slow down, you're able to give space to your thoughts. When you're able to give space to your thoughts, you think more clearly. This is a valuable skill set for all humans. How to think more clearly. How to feel the need to give space as opposed to condense the space. Meaning, like, having a conversation with someone, are you automatically responding without thinking? And I do this sometimes. It's a practice. You have to work at it. I struggle every day to close the gap with things that are not where they should be as I see them for my own development. And I keep going back to the Growth Blueprint modules to help stabilize my thinking and to remind myself of a system that I can leverage and be in practice to be able to serve me in my interests. Mostly to create more time and space for me to have clarity and stay in alignment, as opposed to this kind of like ping-ponging back and forth where I'm not leveraging signals of stress as a source of empowerment and like big bright lines locking me into a path, as opposed to this kind of like ping pong nature of what I believe is the reality for a lot of people as a reaction to extrinsic factors, as opposed to a grounding presence. And I ebb and flow in this. And again, personal growth is not about the pursuit of perfection, which is to me almost like an insane thought. There's really no perfect thing. And, you know, you can get as up close to anything, even machine tooled precision manufacturing, if you get down to a small enough microscope, you can see that in fact, even the most quote unquote perfect thing still has flaws in it. And that's kind of the point. It's the continued pursuit of practice that should be at the forefront of your mind. Consistency above all else. It's not about being consistently perfect. It's about consistently trying to leverage the tools to our disposal to uplift the human experience for us, as opposed to bringing it down. That's really the main point. And it's hard. It's so fucking hard sometimes. It's just like the raw power of emotion that is within us is so strong. I mean, I feel like it's the same as a rocket ship taking off from Earth, blasting through the atmosphere. I mean, the sheer force, it can be debilitating for people to not have clarity, to not understand what is alive in them and how that is affecting them so profoundly. And then to have the tools and the courage to speak up, speak your truth, to not close up, but to expand into the universe with your truth. And it's very easy to say, very difficult to do. But that's why we're here, constantly practicing, constantly looking to leverage all opportunities that are being presented to us and see how we can improve by 0.1%. I mean, it's like, it doesn't even matter as long as there's intention behind it and you just really putting your best foot forward and saying, let me give myself some space to breathe here. Let me leverage this potential downward spiral and recapture this moment for myself and empower myself, as opposed to bring myself down. Because we all have choices at the end of the day. And that's where tools come in, because if you have a toolkit, let's say you bring a car to your mechanic, they're gonna go back, they have all the drawers full of tools, everything ready to serve them, to serve their needs, to help their clients, to help people fix their cars. It's true for anything, technicians, whatever, dentists, surgeons, they have their shit all fucking locked down. But what good is a toolkit if you can't access it, if you don't have the keys to unlock the cabinet to be able to grab the tool that you need? It'd be like a surgeon going in for surgery and all the tools are locked behind a cabinet and then no one has the key. Would you want to go to that hospital? Fuck no, right? It's not doing you any good to not put what you're learning into practice. When you're in school, elementary school and kindergarten, you're learning math, you're figuring it all out, you're going to eventually leverage those skills to be able to compute mathematical equations, to be able to understand basic geography, to be able to use the knowledge and apply it. So it's the same thing with personal growth. It's the same thing with everything. It's just like salsa. When I was talking about salsa, the only way to get better is to practice. The only way to do the thing is to fucking do it, to show up, feel what you feel, take advantage, and leverage the knowledge that you have and put it into practice. I'm gonna walk by these people here. Whoa. This is a cool beach here. We're gonna have a great view of Tere going through the tunnel. So if you haven't already done so, please drop in the comments something that's happening in your life that you feel struggle with, that you feel resistance towards. Drop it in the comments. Doesn't have to be perfect. Most of the time it isn't. Something that is relevant to you in this moment right now, just put it in the comments and let's start a conversation about how we can close the gap. Because if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not risking it, risking potential embarrassment, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, doing the thing that is going to trigger emotion. Look at this fucking view though, come on. I don't know if we can see this. What an epic view. You get a better view on the way back, that's for sure. Or at least you do. I get a nice view now, you get a good view on the way back. Also drop in the comments where you're from, where are you listening from, where you live, because cultural norms also dictate a lot about how we experience the world. And although this is a factor, it really shouldn't be, because everything that we talk about here, it crosses all boundaries and cultures. It's not about conforming to a specific view of life. It's about leveraging what we all have available to us to enrich our life, to calm our nervous system down, and to be able to do whatever it is that we want to do. Everybody's coming to the table differently. Everybody has different aspirations, different goals, different belief structures, cultural dynamics. And it's like so much of this is just noise. It doesn't necessarily help us by focusing on things that are not intrinsic to our unique view. And that's one of the most difficult things to do, is break free from the programming that we were all a part of, all from unique perspectives, of course, but I'm referring to the way in which we were raised as kids. And the impact that that has on the way in which we view the world is so profound. I struggled for years with this. Expectations of people. I mean, we spoke about expectations, assumptions in another FlowState episode, but it's one of those things that is so debilitating because it locks our thinking in. It doesn't allow for fluidity and for growth to happen naturally. It just puts us into a box. And if we can practice stepping outside of that box, being uncomfortable, we're going to only find ourselves in a more powerful position, because we're going to have more clarity. We're going to have a calmer approach to challenges that would otherwise make it almost impossible to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Think of this, when you're in a high stress situation, when there's these feelings of confusion, your heart rate is elevated, right? It's like confusion. That's an interesting one, because you, obviously when you're confused, you're not thinking clearly. But then if you go back, it's like, what is the underlying factor to being confused? And what other emotions are we feeling when we feel confused or disjointed, out of alignment? And the process of the Growth Blueprint and its practices are to ensure that we are in alignment as much as possible. Because when we're in alignment, we are operating from a place of calm. And when we operate from a place of calm, we have more space for our thoughts and clarity to emerge in a natural way, as opposed to a contrived way, which can lead to mistakes, which can lead to errors. And depending on what you're doing, could be fatal, it could be, a broken glass, it can be an injury, it could be loss of revenue. The sky's the limit. And focusing on the things that are in our direct control is one way of slowing time down, and one way of alleviating potential mistakes. You can only control what you can control. And it may sound obvious, whatever, but that's not the case. You can't always predict how you are going to feel in the moment, because we're so reactive to everything that's in front of us that sometimes it's like we're blinded by our own truth, not being sensitive to our feelings and our state, and then having the courage to express yourself in that very moment, regardless of how your brain is already beginning to play tricks on you, saying, well, if you say this, then it's gonna make someone feel like this and that, and like giving too much weight to the thought of a response which actually hasn't even happened yet, because it's like you're already analyzing the thing that you were about to say before saying it, or if at all, because of someone else's perceived reaction or response. I've done this my whole life. Most likely you have. And it's like not at all serving your interests to be a good friend, a good brother, sister, cousin, father, daughter, mother. It's like speaking your truth, having the courage to say the important shit in the moment and not be too preoccupied with the response is truly liberating and freeing. Some people are experts in this, meaning that they have rewired their brain to be somewhat indifferent to the response. And it's not to say that you should go out and be an asshole and intentionally incite harm. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying it's important to speak your truth. And so it's like, well, are you saying that I should speak my truth in every context? Like the common example that I'm thinking of right now, you know what? It just occurred to me I should just grab a picture, hold that thought. Common example, your mother-in-law's cooking. I'll be right back. All right, so the mother-in-law makes you a dinner, you're at the dinner table, and she asks you, what do you think of the food? Well, you have an opportunity. The asshole move would be, no, this doesn't taste good. Speaking your truth with intention could look like, oh, you know, I really like this element of this dish, but for my taste, it could use a little bit more salt. Or, wow, that's so spicy. I'm not used to this amount of spice in my food. I really like it, but it's challenging for me. Or, I really appreciate the effort that you put into making this dish. I really enjoy it, you know, like like obviously that's like a total positive scenario. But there are opportunities to not be an asshole, to speak politely, and leverage opportunities for constructive expression, whether you are expressing your dislike of something. You can do so politely with compassion and love. And no one can say anything negatively about that because there's nothing negative to say. You are entitled, you won't hear me say that word that often, but you are entitled to your opinion. It's one of the few times where entitlement is a real fucking thing. You are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to validate your perspective. You are not entitled to be an asshole. That's the main point to that. You're entitled to speak your truth in a way that uplifts the human experience for yourself and the people around you. And by using language to your advantage, you can express your excitement, your distaste for something without making someone feel bad. It's a matter of taking a breath, creating space between your words, what was said to you in the question, or whatever the context, giving yourself space to think and not react, but to ground yourself in the present moment and respond using language, using empowerment to be able to express your truth, but doing so in a way that is going to be received as exactly that, not making analysis or undue criticism when it's not appropriate to do so. It's not about providing a critique, it's about expressing what's alive in you. You know, that emotion that gets created by whatever the context is. It's the same thing with a movie, music, you know, so much of all of this is subjective anyways. And it's also true about when someone asks you, how do I look? How do I look? Okay, this is a very sensitive subject for people. You don't want to hurt people's feelings intentionally. But again, you can leverage language to be able to empower the individual, even if you are not in agreement with them. And to not do that is a mistake primarily for yourself. And, you know, so often we repeat the same patterns over and over and over and over again. And the idea is it's like with all of this, right? Like, how do you break the pattern? How do you break the cycle? This loop of either, you know, incessant negative self-talk or constantly criticizing without actually providing the next step to it. You know, it's one thing to say, we'll use the food example again, because I think it's an easy one that we can all relate to. It's like, oh, I really like this dish, but I find it to be too salty for my taste. Or I really like this dish, but there are too many green peppers in it for my taste. I've always had trouble with green peppers, whatever, or it's like being able to provide information on both the positive, neutral, and negative wrapped in a package that is going to provide feedback to the person you're speaking to is really a powerful place to communicate from, because they're going to receive all of it as a neutral statement. And again, like when you're talking to people about, like in the context of business, also like someone is providing you with, someone is either requiring a task from you, when you're probing for more questions and you happen to disagree with the process that you're being tasked with, there's opportunities for you to then leverage for both positive, neutral, and negative to be able to ultimately communicate more clearly and more powerfully to your boss, or even when providing feedback to people that are your subordinates. This is true for relating to family more powerfully, your friends, to be able to tap into expressing yourself more clearly, succinctly, and most importantly, in the moment as it's coming alive in you. And it's a struggle. It's a real fucking struggle. I mean, last night, I allowed myself to essentially get my feelings hurt because, again, kind of an uncomfortable situation, not being fully confident, having, it's like I had expectations or assumptions, really more like an assumption of what was going to happen, and like taking the context of learning how to dance in a dance studio and then bringing it out into the real world after 3 or 4 lessons was really intense. Meaning like you're just trying to do it, but it's not working and you have to just practice. So my wife was dancing with our friends and I wasn't quite fully comfortable, a little bit out of my element. And then she and I danced for a little bit. Didn't really go super smoothly, kind of like not great. And then, I was kind of feeling the groove a little bit. And I asked her if she would like to try again. And she just looked at me and was like, no. And immediately in that moment, my feelings got hurt, which is crazy because that is, first of all, her choice. It's an invitation that I'm presenting. It's not a command, okay? And so if you are inviting someone to do something, like making a request of them, which was, would you like to dance? We have to be prepared to accept their answer for what it is, without judgment, without emotion, because if it is anything other than that, then we weren't really making a request, or we are allowing someone else's response to influence our current state, which diminishes our power. And it's, as soon as it happens, I was like, oh, fuck. It was brutal. And because, this didn't help, I smoked a little weed before we left, which I am never fucking doing again. Never, ever, ever, ever. I mean, never say never, but not until I fucking become way more proficient at doing this relatively complex thing. because I got in my head about it. And then because I got in my head, it affected my current state, because I was the one pulling myself down. It was like a reaction. It wasn't anything predicated on unshakable truths and operating from a place of openness. It didn't last very long, but it did affect me. And so it was a learning experience. And I mean, personally, I am, this would have been way different if it was some random person. Everybody's asking everybody to dance. The vibe is super cool. Advocating you go try salsa dancing. It's fun. If it would have been a random girl, a lady, saying no, be like, great, no problem. Like, no thing. Just ask the next person, But for whatever reason, for me personally, my relationship with her is so hot, like emotionally, that when I guess I kind of mincing my words here. I am like, obviously this is connecting like my, how would you say this? Her impact on me it's in its own category. And if you've been in a long-term relationship with your partner, you may feel the same way, which is that you give more weight to their opinion than you probably should. And you give more weight to their value of you than other people. Like, I don't give a fuck what other people think of me, but I do give a fuck about what she thinks of me. And unfortunately for me, that impacts my emotional state when things like this happen. And it's something I'm constantly working on. And I've closed the gap tremendously on it, where, back in the day, it would be like a couple of days of just like self-induced depression, and be like, oh my God, and then you get into your head, be like, she doesn't love me and all this. It's like kind of insane behavior, honestly. It is. It literally is insane behavior. And so a lot of the internal struggle that I was dealing with, it was like from different pillars of my existence. One of them was the relationship and how I perceived her what's the word I'm looking for? Perceived her, opinion of me in a variety of contexts, and how that affected me in my current state. And it could be, as an example, I really, really love to cook. And 99% of the time, the food is like really fucking good. But then every once in a while, it's not good. And by not good, I mean still good, but just not as good as my potential. And, maybe a couple of times it's bad, but again, my own critique of my food as what bad is still very good, because I've dedicated a huge amount of time to learning, I cook every day, so time compounds good technique, and I've just developed a certain basis of quality that you know, it's like, it's fucking good food. So anyways, but it'd be like, oh, I don't like it. And it's how something so simple and so inconsequential can have a derailing effect on our state. And it really is an indication of being fragile and not anti-fragile, which is one of the outcomes of being in practice with the Growth Blueprint and all of its modules. Anti-fragility is so empowering because you're not relying on anything other than what you know to be true. Are we gonna fucking go up this? This is... All right, oh shit, or do we walk through town? Let's go walk through town. Oof, got scared of that hill. Also, it's kind of fun to walk through here, so. So that was then, this is now. But even so, having these like momentary relapses is an indicator that more progress needs to be done, you know, more intention with how we're operating and leveraging the tools to our disposal, also understanding the current state that we're in. If, like me, I'd smoke some cannabis, or it's true for like, if you have a couple of drinks or whatever, like even the difference between not having had caffeine in your system and having caffeine in your system in the morning, if this is something that you're reliant on, you know that it's a big factor in the way that you're gonna show up in that moment, you know? We were also both tired and slightly depleted, but that's neither here nor there. It's the way I internalized her comment and the power that it had over me. And that's my own doing. That is my own struggle and opportunity for growth that, oh, okay, 27% battery. Hopefully we don't die on the way back. So I use various elements of my life to articulate where I was, where I am, and how this system has really transformed my approach to living. And 99% of the time, it works. I'm fucking locked in. I'm leveraging it to the best of my ability. And there are no issues. There are no it's like, there's no self-harm. There's no negative feedback loop because I'm tapped into a higher purpose. I'm grounded in my core values, in alignment with my long-term goals. Vitality is the driving force for all of these things. And so, you know, you just brush it off. Be like, whatever. But sometimes it's just a wild thing to happen because you are, oh, we'll go up here, these streets here. You are so susceptible. You are so susceptible. And unless you're constantly practicing, leveraging the tools, things will come up. Things are going to affect you in a way that you would not have chosen. And so how do we acknowledge when this is happening? Excuse me. How do we acknowledge when this is happening? And how do we leverage the tools that we have to ensure that, this way, that we can stand true in our anti-fragility. It's a motherfucker, I can tell you. And again, it's not about being perfect. It's not about winning every time. It's simply about being present, showing up, being consistent in your practice, to be giving space and to be recalibrating as much as possible. Oh man. Sorry, I'm going to not speak for a minute. This is, I guess I am speaking, but this is such a cool, it's an amazing natural pool down there. So cool. This town is called El Pris. Where we were with the beach is called Mesa del Mar. Oh man. Okay. I'd like to extend an invitation to share within the context of your life in the chat, or join the Growth Blueprint community on School using the link in the video description. And let's talk about it. Let's use different experiences like the one I just shared about how you feel it's like, are you susceptible to a certain group of people and their opinion? Or do you find yourself impermeable to this? I know with a lot of people, their parents are a big factor in their self-worth, constantly trying to prove to people, you know, it's like, oh man, it's all uphill from here. So maybe a little out of breath at times, but so various stages of our life, we're always seeking approval from people, especially when we're young. Seeking approval from your parents is a big fucking deal. It's directly attached to self-esteem, the way you're choosing to show up, the things that you do. You know, there's a slight competitive undertone to it all. And as we get older, that either is something that we leverage to empower us, to enrich us, to be strong in our conviction about our self-worth, or it can be something that is debilitating in that we're constantly seeking validation from other people. Now, this can be within a very small circle of people, or it could be everyone for that matter. It will depend on your own unique circumstance. And so as I was relating to you earlier, my hurdle, my next kind of like big emotional breakthrough as it relates to the need I have for her high opinion of me is been on my ongoing list of things that I'm constantly working on every day. And of course you want your spouse to respect you, to show up for you and the idea that you have in your head, but that can be unfair to yourself and to them, you know, whatever. In the context of man, woman, I'm the man, she's the woman, so it's obviously going to be different for everybody. But from my perspective, you know, it's interesting because I had that with my parents, and I put in so much work to resolve this, and I have come a huge distance with the same idea as it relates to my wife. And I see it as an opportunity for deeper, more powerful introspection, because what is it that is the catalyst for these emotions? What is the thing that is bubbling under me that is, and it's like I'm not even doing it consciously I'm not seeking validation, but I am more susceptible to criticism. You know, it's funny, so the American journalist Tucker Carlson, I saw an interview with him about this exact thing, and he's like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks of me, but I deeply care about what my wife thinks of me. And it's like, I think he even says, like, she can bring me to my knees by one comment, you know, if I think she calls me out on something stupid that I've done or whatever. And then it's like this pattern of this need of validation that is so deeply rooted in so many other emotions, right? It's not just pure, like, it's important to me that you're validating what I'm doing in a positive way, but how that connects to the way we hold space for ourselves, the way in which we talk to ourselves internally. Like, if it's then triggering us to speak negatively about our action, like, oh, you fucking idiot, you should have done this, and then you can get into a real nasty negative spiral of negative self-talk. And depending on the severity of it, you begin to question things that you know are true. And then you just keep going down this crazy loop of shit. And I really do feel this is a universal state for a lot of people. And resolving these things are so important to being able to make progress within yourself so that you become more and more anti-fragile. And it all comes down to that, this idea of anti-fragility, because you are not responsible for what other people think. You are not responsible for protecting your language to ensure that what you say is going to be received in the same way that is in your head. It's never true. And also, your internal monologue is different when said out loud. For sure, it's going to create new feelings within you, and that is more real than just thinking about saying something. Because there's a difference between using your air, your vocal cords, and putting it out there into the universe, than just saying it to yourself. And with time and practice and a commitment to consistency, like not me, but like saying, I'm committing to doing this practice every day. I'm committed to counting to 3 before I speak every time. And it may feel awkward at first, but then it just becomes second nature. Slowing down is so important. Sometimes I need to remind myself of this. Sometimes I don't do the thing that I try to practice. We're all human. As I've said already, it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up consistently and holding space for yourself to be able to be grounded so that when you go through life, every single moment of every day, you have clarity and focus, that you're calm, that your nervous system is in alignment with your identity, not this bifurcation, this kind of splitting of what's happening extrinsically and intrinsically. Sometimes there's a massive shift there. Taking advantage again. You have a toolkit, you have the tools. Don't lock the cabinet and throw away the keys, because then it's just like entertainment, It's like trying to get strong by watching workout videos. That's not happening. You have to actually put in the time, put in the effort, put in the reps, go to the gym, go on the run, go swim laps, go throw the football, whatever the fucking thing is. It doesn't matter. Play the clarinet for 18 hours a day, because if you don't, then nothing changes. It's not enough to conceptualize these things. You must put them into action. Not about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself and doing the thing, staying in practice, committing to being more aware, committing to give yourself more space, more time to be able to interact and engage with the world in a calm and centered way. And again, I'll bring it back to last night and, the ongoing relationship I have with validation, understanding to myself that it is a struggle as it relates to the communication I have with my wife and her opinion. And being self-aware is one thing. Leveraging tools in the moment when things arise is another thing. And then resolving this completely is the icing on the cake. And, I'm just leveraging this opportunity because it happened last night and it's still very fresh in my mind. And it brings me back to years ago. We've been together for 15 years. So it was, something that I have been reflecting on as it relates to my upbringing, my childhood. And that's why I brought it to this idea of when we're young, we really are seeking validation from our parents. We are always constantly trying to prove our self-worth. And as we get older, the path of doing so should be constantly being diminished over time, because if we're showing up as adults, we're doing the work that is required of us in whatever capacity. The quality of that work is going to be reflected in our commitment and effort. And if you are a professional, you're showing up in that capacity and you're constantly working to hone your skills. But as a professional, you've already created this path of, oh, as a professional, you've already created this path for you. So it's not about proving to anyone other than to do the work to the best quality possible for you. And that will change as you become more and more proficient over time. So, it's this really interesting feedback loop of resolving your past through communication, through your own process of analysis, being introspective. A lot of the work that we do in establishing your core values speaks to this, because when you're grounded, when you're in alignment with your 3%, when you're grounded, when you're in alignment with your purpose, you are anti-fragile, you are unshakable. You will have momentary blips, but over time, it's all about that anti-fragility. And on that note, with 2% left in my camera, I just want to say a deep and heartfelt thank you to everyone who dropped in. Please subscribe, drop a comment, join the conversation, join the Growth Blueprint. The link is in the video description. I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for dropping in. I love you. See you next time.